Wednesday, August 5th, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, NBA tip-off on WagerTalk TV as always, every Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern live here on WagerTalk TV. And I've got the usual suspects with me for this Wednesday, Teddy Covers, Ski Prophet, Tony Finn, and Rob Vino, who is a usual suspect, although the hurricane took him out for one day only. Rob Vino doesn't miss more than one day, even with natural disasters. So we got the whole crew back today on Wednesday, and we're going to get to the Wednesday games here. We actually have a couple in games, so a little less games coming up than normal. We're going to touch on the in games briefly, and then we'll get to the daytime game, of course, which is very important for all the live viewers on YouTube, Periscope, Facebook Live. You can watch us every day live at 3 Eastern, and that's another reason it pays to tune in live, because we do have daytime action as always. And then, of course, we'll get to the 3 nightcaps as well. We actually have 2 games going off in about a half hour, 1 game in progress right now. First, though, I got to touch on this. Yesterday, Teddy, you had some great information about moneyline parlays, and you said how the 2 daytime games that were in progress would have paid 47-1. I'm not lazy, but I'm also busy, so I haven't gone back and checked what all of them would have paid. But every underdog won outright yesterday except for one, and they lost in overtime, and they were winning outright most of the game. So, Teddy, I'll start with you. Just your thoughts on yesterday in general, maybe how you did. But, once again, underdogs were cashing yesterday in the NBA.
Sure. I mean, underdogs the straight-up winner is 27-3 against the spread.
Wow.
So far since the return of the bubble. So it's basically been a straight-up winner. And when you have an 18-point dog that wins straight up and another 9-point dog that wins straight up, underdog 6-0 yesterday against the spread, 5-1 straight up. Did I make any money off of all those dogs winning? No, I did not, Steve. We talked about it. Did I make a big bet? I did not. Did I make a small bet? I did not. Am I annoyed by it? I am. Because last night was one of those nights that if you were playing dogs in the money line, it pays for your whole season.
Hey, Teddy, who knows? I mean, we gave that information out here at 3 o'clock Eastern live, and we had 4 games that went off after that. All 4 underdogs won outright. So maybe one of the 1,000 to 2,000 viewers that we had total yesterday benefited. Let's hope. But once again, if anybody missed the show yesterday, Teddy has a small bankroll set aside in which he plays moneyline underdogs, and he round robins them. And when we were doing the show live yesterday, one of them ended up cashing outright. It was a 19-point dog, New Jersey Net or Brooklyn Nets. Paid about 15-1. You parlayed them with anybody else at a money-like price, and it was a big payday. But, 5 of the 6 dogs yesterday, Tony, they cashed. 5 of the 6 cashed outright. The only loss was in overtime with the Sacramento Kings, a 6-point dog that was leading most of the game. In fact, they were leading going into the fourth quarter by 1. Tony, how'd you do yesterday overall? What were your thoughts on that dog barking Tuesday in the NBA? Tony, we can't hear you, my man. I don't think that's just me. So
no, he's muted.
Yeah.
Hold on. How about now?
Yeah,
I don't know how that happened. I must have grabbed it when I moved the mic. Sorry, guys.
You're good. You're good to go.
It's exciting stuff to me when you come up with numbers like that. The straight up winner is also covering too, and that in this case, 27-3 is pretty impressive. It also has to do with some of the small lines being a neutral site. Some of the small numbers, although the numbers have expanded, we had a 9-point line, we had a 19-point line, whatever the lines are, they're getting bigger and bigger as we get farther into the bubble. I'm excited about that. And by the way, Teddy's small bankroll, it's relative because his small bankroll is like my annual income. So it's, he's got a lot of money to work with.
Well, he also had he mentioned yesterday a 47-1 payoff. He didn't have it, of course. I don't think any of us did. But like Teddy said, you're risking a little to win a lot.
Well, the 47-1 didn't come through because Sacramento didn't win the game. However, if you just played the Nets and the Suns, that would have paid 67-1.
And like you said, Ted, you round robin. And by the way, somebody asked in the YouTube chat afterwards. I chimed in last night. I saw it. So if you're the one that asked the question, go back. I have an answer there. But what it was what is a round robin? And I realized, there are some new viewers. If you have 3 teams, you just parlay them all together, A and B, A and C, B and C. And if you have 3-4 teams, you're doing it with multiple 3-4 game parlays. So, yes, one of them missed out yesterday, but 5 of the 6 underdogs won outright. And if you round robin them, it was a huge payday. And by the way, we're not telling viewers out there to just round robin and play all the money line underdogs in any sport. You have to handicap the game still. And Ski Prophet, how'd you do yesterday, and what were your thoughts on Tuesday and with some of those upsets?
I took it easy. I didn't even have any action. Gave some good advice on the show. but didn't have any action on my own. So just a chill day. Got to watch all the underdogs come in.
And Ski, I will say you liked Phoenix. We all kind of leaned towards Phoenix. And, Teddy, you said it was Phoenix or pass. And I was laughing later when they went outright as a 9-point dog because I was like, sometimes maybe we overthink it as handicappers. If we're all agreeing it's Phoenix or pass, maybe we should have all had a play on Phoenix because we only need a 2 or 3% edge to break even. Break even is 52.5%. In hindsight, I probably should have been on him. Rob Vino, other than being without power and scrambling yesterday, I know you still got your best bets up for your clients. You get them up today on Wednesday. He didn't miss any days, by the way, folks. He might have been knocked out with the power, but his plays were up nice and early because he knew it was coming on Tuesday, and he's got them up again today on Wednesday at WagerTalk.com. Rob, I'll let you start today with what you got for Wednesday, and then if you had any takeaways from underdogs winning yesterday.
Yeah, 3 plays up and available right now, Steve. One being of the late afternoon Eastern time variety, early afternoon Pacific time, and the other 2 nighttime plays. So everything's up and ready right now. Last night, of course, had Boston, Miami up and over the 221, hit 218. Yesterday was an interesting day, guys, where, the NBA has kind of switched this year. There used to be an old saying, at least I think it was an old saying, that the fourth quarter is where the graveyard where overs go to die. And yesterday, we saw a lot of low-scoring fourth quarters. It hasn't been the norm, but yesterday, 4 of the 6 games totaled 46 points or less in the fourth. Now, I don't know if I read into that teams, grinding defensively in the fourth quarters now that they've got a couple of games under their belt, and maybe we're going to see a little tighter defense in the fourth quarter. That could be, that might not be. I usually treat these things all individual. By team, not by blanket statement, as in all of these teams are going to play it the same way. But it was just interesting to me yesterday that there were so many low-scoring fourth quarters. Almost as interesting to me as the fact that Ski Profits, hell no Phoenix Suns are becoming the hell yes Phoenix Suns inside the bubble here. They do nothing but win. They do nothing but cover. Going to have to change their name, Ski, because if Phoenix doing something right in these few games.
And, of course, it also could be, are the Clippers not doing anything right now? There's always 2 sides to that equation. But, yeah, I mean, Phoenix so far has played better than expected. They went outright as a 9-point dog. By the way, Rob, that fourth quarter info is interesting because if you look at the sides also throughout that overtime game, 4 of the other 5 games yesterday, the team that won the fourth quarter lost the game. And that was with all these underdogs winning still. So it hasn't mattered as much there. The only one in which they won the game and won the fourth was actually the Portland Trailblazers. And by the way, that was my 5% best bet on Wager Talk yesterday. Special thank you to everybody that was on board for that. Had a big turnout. I've only been there for the month of August here. It was the first 5% best bet I've released. There will be more coming, but I'm very selective. So once again, stay tuned. Hey, as Rob mentioned, WagerTalk.com. He's got some best bets. Tony, Ski, and Teddy, as we go around, I'm going to get your previews here in a bit. They've got best bets as well at WagerTalk.com. But as Teddy said yesterday, don't buy any picks. Buy a week subscription because that's where the value is. $69. Who cannot afford $69 for 7 days of plays? That's less than $10 a day to get all sports, all best bets from any capper you want. And this isn't limited to just one capper, folks. It's everyone. You can use it for Rob. You can use it for Tony. You can use it for Teddy. You can use it for Ski. Make some serious money over the next 7 days with promo code WEEK69, WEEK 69. Week 69 gets you 7 days all sports for $69. WagerTalk.com for these guys. Also some great cappers at SportsMemo.com as well. Let's get right into these daytime games, guys, and then we'll have some fun at the end of the show with the in-game bets we didn't get time to go to yesterday. But we do have 2 games. Well, actually, I'll tell you what. We got 1 game in progress. Real quick, does anybody have anything going in this Grizzlies Jazz game? I'll go around the horn. I'll start with you, Rob. Anything in this Grizzly Jazz game? Right now, Grizzlies up by 10 early second quarter. 56 points scored in the first quarter, so it looks like a high-scoring one.
Yeah, I didn't play, Steve. The loss of Jaren Jackson Jr., obviously kind of a wait-and-see approach for me, how this team's going to handle it over a couple of games. But off to a good start here today, but I had no play on that contest.
Yeah, Tony, do you have anything big going first at Wager Talk for Wednesday? And did you have anything in the daytime game?
I don't. In fact, I mentioned on the last show the first pitch that I would be entering. There was a couple of questions I had and some information I was waiting on. I'll have them as soon as the show's over. I'll have them up. Right now, I'm one MLB and 1 NBA.
Sounds good.
And the Grizzlies, I like the in-game live right now, the number on the Jazz.
What are you seeing on that one right now? They're down by 10 as we speak here, early second quarter. Utah was
Pick,
5-point
there's
favorite.
a couple of them here, but you're going to get a pick right now, probably still, even though it's 10.
So you're
This is the
basically
opening number. What do you have?
well, I'm saying going into the game, they were -5.
Yeah.
So you've got them now for pick for the game.
Well, I lost connection, but a few minutes ago it was a pick when it was 8 points.
Yeah, okay. They were down by 6 after the first. Teddy, anything on this end game between the Grizzlies and Jazz? And do you have anything strong going today at WagerTalk.com?
Well, I've got a couple of plays for today over at WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com, one in the NBA and one in MLB. I did not have I had a strong opinion on this one. I had Memphis on the short list, and then I talked myself out of it after the Jackson injury and after we saw Utah. The quotes coming out of Utah were very positive after the Lakers lost. And even though they lost that game, there were a lot of good things. There was talk from Quinn Snyder about, hey, our offense is just about, we're ready to turn the corner right here. And with those quotes, it talked me off the Memphis side. I've been pretty good at letting myself get talked off winners. Talked myself off winners over the course of the last 24 hours. A little bit frustrating.
And that's the ebb and flow with handicapping, though. We talked about it yesterday. We all said it was Suns or pass. And then now you look at it in hindsight, we probably should have been on the Suns. But that's how it goes. Hey, look, you're never going to get hurt not playing a game. It might be frustrating when they win, but money management's important. Selectivity is important. Ski, you said you were selective yesterday. What are you looking at today on Wednesday? Anything stronger popping for you?
Well, first of all, Rob said that the hell no Phoenix Suns have become the hell yes Phoenix Suns, but the Jazz are still the hell no Jazz, it looks like. And it's no surprise.
Take that, Tony.
Yeah, it's no surprise Tony still loves the Jazz, though. That's his team. That's his team. He's ride or die with the Jazz. This game, I did have action on it. I got an early number on this one. I got 225. I was looking at the under without Jaren Jackson and without Bogdanovich. I would think the Jazz would play better defense, but it doesn't look like it so far. We'll see if they can slow down.
Yeah, you got a really good number, Ski. It closed at 219 and a half, but even as low as 219 in some spots. So you have almost 6 points in line value, closing line value. And by the way, new viewers out there, closing line value is one of the best barometers if you have an edge. If you historically get better numbers by 1 or 2 points, in this case 6 points, than the closing line, you're going to win more than 52.5% and have an edge as a sports bettor. So we'll be rooting for you, Ski. I got nothing on this game, so I'm pulling for the under. So viewers out there, let us know if you have anything in this Grizzlies Jazz game. Otherwise, we're pulling for the under here for Ski Profit. Let's get to the two games that are about to start here in about 45 minutes. We have a couple games that tip off at 4 p.m. Eastern live today on Wednesday. And the first one on the rotation, Rob, I'll throw it to you, is Nuggets Spurs. We talked a little bit yesterday, Rob. The Spurs have overachieved, at least going in, for after the first few games. They haven't exactly played world beaters, though. The Nuggets, meanwhile, as the 3 seed, lost their first game. Denver, a 3-point favorite, Rob, total 227. There's been some money on the over. What are you looking at this one?
Yeah, power ratings that I keep made the Nuggets 5.5, so I thought there was some value in the Denver team. If we go back a couple of days and remember that Teddy gave us some quotes from Mike Malone, who kind of talked out of both sides of his mouth, but the second side of his mouth kind of worked against Oklahoma City, where he wanted to see better defense out of his team, and he got it. The game went overtime, which forced it to be an over, but still, if you look at OKC's shooting percentage, I know Dennis Schroeder wasn't present in that game, but Denver overall, shorthanded as they were, looked to be much more active on the defensive side. Jokic played a better game. Of course, Michael Porter Jr. went off. And it's a Denver team, Steve, that, they're pretty resilient. We saw an instance during the regular season where Denver had 7 players and won and covered on back-to-back nights, the second night being in Utah, where they win a game outright with the same 7 guys. So, when Mike Malone gets his troops going, and even Jokic said, we're now in 25, 26, 27 days. We're starting to get things right. You might see a little Jamal Murray here. And I'll go back to your point of who San Antonio has played from a defensive perspective. It really doesn't get much worse than Sacramento, Memphis, and Philadelphia, who we'll get into in a little bit. But those 3 have been virtual defensive sieves. We'll see if the Nuggets go ahead and take San Antonio here. Interesting note, and I haven't referred back to the regular season much, if at all, in my handicap of this 8-game restart, guys. But in the regular season matchup, these two teams only faced one time, which is kind of surprising. But LaMarcus Aldridge had 33. and shredded the Denver Nuggets. Without LaMarcus Aldridge, maybe there's not all that much for Denver to stop here. We'll see.
Yeah, Tony, I mean, these two teams combined have been an underdog in all 5 games they've played. So the Nuggets, first time they're favored. They won outright as a dog against the Thunder to bounce back after that opening loss that I referenced against the Heat by 20. But yeah, it's small ball for San Antonio, right, Tony? I mean, do you see how do you see this game playing out?
It is small ball, and I don't know. Let's put it this way. I talked about this yesterday. I'm believing defense. I believe in paint defense in playoff scenarios, and let's just call these last 8 games what they are, and they are play-ins for the most teams. Not necessarily the Spurs, but the Nuggets are fighting for. If you believe they're fighting for a seed or wanting to get better, then it's hard to play against Malone. You always in the paint, and the Nuggets today laying a small number.
Yeah, I was going to say, Teddy, yesterday with all those dogs cashing, I doubt the odds makers adjusted it too much, but they might have. I mean, the lines have been soft. When dogs went outright like that, the odds obviously aren't too accurate. Do you feel like maybe we're getting a shorter price with some favorites going forward now? What are your thoughts on this one?
Not off of one day, no. If we see this trend where all the dogs are winning straight up for 3 or 4 days, we will absolutely see an adjustment in the marketplace. But off a single day, remember, yesterday's lines posted, today's lines posted before yesterday's games were even played. Just like today, tomorrow's line's already up before today's games are being played. While I legitimately like everyone here in the panel, I'm going to disagree with Rob and I'm going to disagree with Tony. Both. All right. Rob said Malone was talking out of both sides of his mouth. No. Malone had one quote prior to the start of the restart where he's like, I don't know who's healthy. I'm not worried about games. All I'm worried about is getting healthy. And then after they got their butts kicked and didn't play hard, Malone's like, this next game, we're going to play hard. And I'm mad we didn't play hard. And they did. That was one game. I continue to look at the first quote from Malone being, we're not interested in seeding. We're not worried about seeding. We're worried about getting healthy. That, to me, is my overarching view of the Nuggets right now, as opposed to the single game last time where it was a clear bet-on spot for Denver. I'm going to disagree with Tony, and this may be the stronger of the two disagreements, Tony, because you said that the teams like San Antonio, they got nothing. They're not. The teams that are fighting for that last playoff spot are the only teams that are playing hard for 48 minutes. And if you watch an NBA for the last week, that's what you've seen. You've seen the Trailblazers and the Kings and the Spurs and the Brooklyn Nets play, all these teams at the very bottom of the standings, they're playing their guts out.
Well, I didn't throw
all
everything in.
They're playing for seeding. They're Denvers of the world. I mean, we've seen the clips and what the clips came with yesterday. We've seen the Nuggets have their flat performances, et cetera, et cetera. Hakeem, you haven't said anything on this game yet, so I'm waiting, but I'm sure they'll find something to rip you on too.
Ski, give him something. What do you got?
I was waiting for Teddy to blast Tony for a second, but I think I agree with.
I like it.
I agree with Rob. They just announced. I don't know if it matters to you guys, but they just announced that Jamal Murray is not going to play. He's out, but it doesn't really matter to me. The Nuggets, I mean, they're a pretty deep team. Michael Porter Jr. looks good. And who's stopping Jokic and Millsap down there for San Antonio? As Rob said, they had Aldridge last time. They don't have him here. It's tough. I think Nuggets snapped their little, I think they get back on track in this one.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it in depth yesterday, motivation, is there motivation or is there not? We'll get to the next game here, but Rob, I'll let you weigh in real quick on that, just the fact that you weren't with us yesterday. Tony and I were saying yesterday, we're looking at motivation a little bit more, I think, maybe than Teddy is. He thinks, the only teams that have any motivation are those bottom seeds, the teams playing for the play-ins, basically. I said teams that maybe want to avoid the Lakers or the Bucks have something. Do you think Denver, Rob, and we'll kind of leave it at this, but do you think Denver has any motivation to stay in the top 3 seeds just to avoid the Lakers as long as possible?
Yeah, I mean, that's dependent upon being inside the players' minds. I mean, they could finish as high as second, guys. They could finish as low as sixth. I'm sure they don't want to finish sixth. I'll put it that way. You'd rather be in the upper half of the bracket than the lower half of the bracket. But with Mike Malone interested in the team's health, which is first and foremost, and in normal times, that's what we'd all be talking about here. I mean, there'd be load management plus going on. We'll see a little bit of it later. We saw some of it out of Milwaukee last night, right? Nobody played better than, I think, 22 or 23 minutes for Milwaukee in that game against the Brooklyn Nets. So there was serious load management going on there. Like I say, individual teams, individual thinking, and perhaps the Nuggets, it's kind of a quandary, Steve. I'll put it this way, because he can say that. I don't care about games. I don't care about this. I don't care about that. But then when you say, I want my team to play hard, as somebody who's going to bet a team, I want the team that's going to play hard. And they played hard against OKC, and they've played hard shorthanded in certain situations this year. Actually, in multiple situations this year. So I'll just leave it at that. And the fact that I caught a little bit yesterday, I do not want to be, first of all, I'm not female, but I don't want to be the person in the middle of Skip and Shannon over there, Tony and Teddy. Yesterday, I was looking in, and I said, holy Moses, this thing's turned into First Take, or sometimes Skip and Shannon's show. So I don't want to be in the middle of that. But
I do.
Yeah, I could respectfully disagree with my good buddy Teddy Covers. He'll still let me in his house.
And by the way, guys, as you all know, the viewers might not know, but I'm hosting this from my system for the first time here. Andrew McGinnis, good friend of the show, hosts First Pitch right before us every weekday. Has been helping me out the last few days with the new technology, and I can jump you guys around at will. So I'm not going to do it here today because I don't want to drop the show live. But
can you mute us?
I definitely can mute you. Yeah, the mute thing is I've already played around with that. So yeah, we're going to have some fun with this in weeks to come, I think, as we do the Hollywood Squares thing and the jambalaya. First, though, Wager Talk TV is live 3 p.m. Eastern every weekday here. We have the NBA show. I referenced the baseball show. That's at 2 o'clock. By the way, just did the NASCAR show today. The new time for that is 1 o'clock Wednesdays. Each Wednesday, NASCAR Life in the Fast Lane. All of these, of course, are available on YouTube afterwards. You can also get them live on Facebook, Periscope. Just a great way to get information. But we are live right now on Wednesday afternoon, and we have another game going in about 40 minutes. Don't forget to go over to WagerTalk.com for all of our best bets each and every day for multiple sports. $69 for a full week, all access with code WEEK69, WEEK69. Week 69 gets 7 days for $69. That's less than $10 a day for all sports from any and all capper you want. Mix and match. Use it multiple times. Tell your friends. Let's get to the other daytime game. This is one that's of interest to me. As I mentioned, I cashed an easy 5%er with the Blazers last night. Unfortunately, the night before that, I did lose with the Sixers. They won by 2 as a 7-point favorite. So I just don't know if Philly's going to bounce back here against by far the worst team in the bubble. We'll go reverse order, Ski. Why don't I start with you this time? What are your thoughts here? I'm seeing Philly right now as high as, minus 10 in some spots. It's a big number, 10.5 actually. Total 229. 76ers Wizards Ski profit. What are you thinking?
I think that Philadelphia takes their frustrations out on this Washington team. I think they cover the number. I don't think it's too big of a number at all. Washington doesn't really have anybody in their lineup. Not too many guys who can score. And they don't play that much defense either. So I like Philly to cover the big number. And you'll never hear me talking about taking a Wizards under. They don't play any defense. So if I don't like the over, I'll pass on the total. So I'll take Philly.
I don't have my sawbuck with me.
Well, I was going to say, after we get to all these games, we will still have time for some in-show wagers, even on these daytime games. So start picking your spots, guys. Teddy, Wizards 0-3 straight up, 0-3 against the spread. Obviously a play against team, but then again, the odds makers are pricing it accordingly. It's not like the Sixers have been barn beaters so far.
So I disagree. I think if you play the Wizards every game the rest of the way, you'll make money.
Really? Wow.
Oh, yeah, sure. They haven't. I mean, they've been a bad point spread team so far. The betting markets are clearly devaluing them because they don't. There's not a name player on the roster. Here's a quote from Scott Brooks. I like this group because they care. I like this group because they take losses hard. We're trying. We're fighting. We're just not getting rewarded yet. But we're going to keep doing it. We've got 5 more games. We're going to play the exact same way. If you've watched Washington at all in the bubble, you know exactly what I'm talking about. No, they're not anything. They have the least talent of any team there. But from an effort standpoint, the Wizards have absolutely been there. They've been there when they're down 20, continuing to fight hard, et cetera, et cetera. They're not a team I have any interest in betting against. The markets are not sleeping on where Washington is. However, for the purposes of this one game, You see the quote from Brett Brown after the Phillies last game? This is a head coach who was pissed. And I mean pissed. You know, you want to be betting on the head coaches who are pissed after their last game, who are not happy with their performance after they gave up 43 in the fourth, the game after they gave up 46 in the fourth. The Philly has spent a lot of time emphasizing defensive acumen over the course of the last 24 hours. And in addition, Brown is saying he's going to shorten the rotation. He's going to make it playoff rotation today. It might only be 8 or 9 guys going for Philly. It's not going to be 11 guys today for the Sixers. They're taking this game very seriously. I will not fade the Sixers in this spot. They're laying 10.5 for a reason, but I'm not fading the Wizards either. And if you're laying 10.5 in this bubble, you better have a damn good reason to do so.
Yeah, Teddy, I wish the Sixers had gotten that memo 2 days ago when I had them as a best bet -7 that they were going to come out and play hard, at least defensively. I would have had no problem. I mean, if you
I had the other side of that one, so I had no arguments with.
Oh, really? Well, if I know, you know, if you told me the Sixers were going to score 132 points, I would have liked to play even more. So maybe it's a good thing I didn't get that information at least. You know, Tony, it's funny when you look at the rotations here. You know, technically the Sixers are the road team today. We all know these are neutral court games in the bubble in Orlando. But, you know, my 25 years of handicapping, I look at it and I see the Sixers as a 10.5-point road favorite. I know long-term for decades now, blindly playing on double-digit home dogs has been like a 60% play against the spread. So there would be value with the Wizards normally. But isn't it funny if you reverse that, the rotation order, you would see the Sixers on the bottom. They would look like a 10.5-point home favorite.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, boys, that's a cheap price. So it's just funny how the neutral court plays into all this with these lines.
I think we all knew the Wizards were not going to be concerned about being a playoff team when they came here. There'd be a lot of pieces missing, right? In fact, from what I understood and what I was told, this was a team where Thomas Bryant and Ryu H were going to find out more about these guys. They were going to give them the ball, let them do their thing. They played okay, but once teams have focused on those two guys, Washington's done nothing. I mean, they look. Maybe they're giving some effort, but I would probably disagree with Teddy a little bit. I just think this is a team that's going to go 0-8. They're going to go 0-8 in this. How they do against the spread moving forward is going to be dependent on the market and what it's set at. Obviously, as Teddy explained, he may be on those points, taking those points. As far as Philly goes, the question with Philly is: has that switch, has moving their number one to a power forward position and bringing in Shake Milton, what's it done? What I've seen it do is that they've become a very poor defensive team, at least as a group. That's what I've seen. Agree or disagree with that?
Well, you know, Rob, you're a Pennsylvania guy, so we got some viewers that are definitely anxious to hear your take on the Sixers. One thing I pointed out on the show we did last Thursday on opening night was that if you look at home-road dichotomies, the biggest one on the board for me was the Sixers. This is a team that's 30-2 as the home team. Now, they're counting that win against the Spurs as a home win, so they're really 29-2, but 10-25 in true road games, including the neutral court. They're a young team. It makes some sense to me. Any concern on that about them being so much weaker on the road? And what's your take from Pennsylvania, this being one of the semi-home teams for you?
Yeah, that stuff about being on the road, Steve, I have no consideration for. But I'll tell you what I have consideration for is they don't care. These players, I had a -7 the other night, and I knew it was wrong the night before when I was going to make the play. I'm like, you know, it's interesting, guys. My son, Teddy will know, my son's in a band. The lead singer for the band lives with us here. He's a Philadelphia sports diehard. I looked at him the night before and I said, you know what? I'm going to take the 76ers -7 tomorrow, and I'm going to sit and I'm going to watch that game, and I'm going to be pissed off as hell because they're not going to give a damn about playing. And they're frustrating, Steve, to your point. Brett Brown's quotes are nice. I'm glad he said it because Brett Brown takes a lot of BS in this town for being an idiot of a coach. Now, it might be partially Brett Brown, but I tell you what, just as much blame has to lay on these players. Ski, I'll go to you as a basketball player. You watched this team the other night. They're beat off the dribble defensively. Every first step, somebody's going by these nitwits. They stand there, they look around, they back up defensively, they let points go through the net. And when it's 130 to 130, Joel Embiid decides to, you know, provide some double help and block a shot and win a game by 2 points, where the local announcers here, guys, I don't know if you watch Philly local telecast, but Ala Abdel Nabi, former Duke player, and Mark somebody. Hey, they line this win up as if it's all unicorns and rainbows after the game. Like, they did a great job. This team is the hardest team for me to handicap because when all's right and their minds are in it, they have the size, they have the length, they have the speed to play defense. We've seen it, but they don't choose to. Now's the time, Tony and Ski, where I wish we had Dr. Chuck on the panel, because I'd like to hear that guy defend the 76ers after what they've shown in 2 games defensively. Your guess is as good as mine, how they respond to Brett Brown trying to get them to play defense. But I'm telling you, watch.
So you agree with me then, right? You're
watch Joel, watch Richardson, watch Korkmaz. He's a stiff. Watch them all on defense. If they don't want to play, they're not going to play. And you know what? They've been so good offensively that they haven't needed to play a lot of defense. I can't lay 10.5 with them, guys. Everything lined up for them to cover 7 the other night. Fundamentally, it was such a bad matchup for the Spurs. But watching the Spurs get second chance points against a team that's 9 feet. It's like the Michael Jordan Monstars in Space Jam against the Spurs the other night.
Rob. I mean, they were in a good spot for me because we were both on them. And the problem, too, is they got the win technically. So maybe it's not like they got embarrassed and got blown out by 20, so they might not be hungry again because they technically got a straight-up win in the spot. They didn't care about this point spread like we do. Yeah,
I agree with you guys really quick.
Yeah, I was going to say, Steve, I wanted to get your final takes on this one.
I disagree with you guys a little bit that it's the same kind of scenario or spot. I mean, San Antonio still had a chance to make the playoffs, and they're playing like they wanted to be in there. Washington does not, and they're not playing like they. So I think that's the difference. And like Rob said, very big point, Philly's not playing defense, but they haven't had to. They're outscoring everybody. And This is a team where they can do just that.
So, by the way, guys, the Sixers, just looking at the standings here, is showing how it really doesn't matter for them. If you want to avoid, the 1 seed Bucks, if they do, who knows? But they're locked into the 6th spot. They're 8 games ahead of the 7 seed, and they're within a couple games behind 4 and 5. So they're actually safer here than if they start winning games and fall into the 5 or the 4, fall up into the 5 or the 4. So, motivation is a concern if you're looking at that type of thing. Teddy, I'll throw it to you for our first nightcap game here. Once again, we have these 2 daytime games going in about a half hour, Denver, San Antonio, Philly, Washington. We do have a nighttime game at 6:30 Eastern, as we have had every night. This one is actually a pretty good one. We got Lakers and Thunder. This is the ESPN game at 6:30 Eastern, so it's on national TV a little earlier. I'm sure a lot of the viewers in the chat are interested in this one for that reason. Teddy, Lakers right now about a 5.5-point favorite. They're basically locked into that 1 seed as they have been pretty much the whole restart. 218 is the total. What do you think Teddy covers?
Well, it's not basically. They clinched the number 1 seed.
Right.
With the win, and that leaves me with a host of question marks about this game that I have not found answers to. You didn't want to be laying 18 with Milwaukee yesterday because the second half. All right. What's going to happen with the Lakers starting in the second half? Do you know? I don't know. I haven't found out. Not sure. Not convinced that LeBron James and Anthony Davis are going to be on the floor in the 4th quarter after they've already clinched. So what LA brings to the table is a giant question mark. Lakers, but so you say, all right, you take OKC. Well, OKC is an okay team. Without Schroeder, that team is as weak as any playoff team in the West. It's not like you're going to look at the Thunder and go, wow, they're going to overwhelm us. OKC is a pretty good team with great guard play, and they don't have great guard play here. Easy pass for me. If I'm going to do anything with it, I might look at the under. But again, when we're talking about a total in this 218 rate, we're not talking about the 236s here. So it's a clear pass for me.
Hey, Tony, speaking of the Lakers, maybe kind of, shutting things down halfway through, like Teddy referenced, any in-game opportunities that you see here, maybe if you're following it live?
In the Lakers game?
Yeah.
Well, if the Lakers go out to a lead, I'd love to see the Lakers go out to about a 10-point lead in this game, and I'll jump the hell all over OKC. I'm with Teddy on this one. I'm going to agree with him, which really, really bites me. But I'm going to agree with him here and tell him that this is a dog game. This is really a dog game. I have about that much interest in watching this game, and I should because I learned something. But OKC isn't much, period, even with Schrader. Without him, the only thing I'm interested in pushing in on would be the under. I really believe that you're not going to see either team real excited. OKC, of course, they're still in it. They're still one of the top 8 teams, right? According to most people's power rankings. Without Schrader, they're not.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, their overall record for the season probably a little misleading for that reason. Rob Vino, any quick thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I'll go quick because I rambled on about the 76ers. It took up everybody's time.
That was fun.
Hey, listen, yeah, I don't get hot too often, Tone, but that was one instance. Yeah, the Oklahoma City Thunder, we've talked about it all season long. The 3 guards get together very, very well. Chris Paul, Gilgeous-Alexander, and, of course, Dennis Schroeder. And it's really been the 3-headed monster that's carried them. Steven Adams has been able to help them the way he helps defensively, some pick-and-roll stuff. Gallinari provides an outside threat, but they really need all 3 guards to cover 48 minutes. Without him, it's tough. But I would look towards first half under here, guys. Oklahoma City could not score points the other day without the help of the free throw line. They were on the free throw line constantly. The whistle was being blown. Ski, I think you commented on Twitter about it. I was watching too. It was whistle, whistle, whistle. OKC to the free throw line, to the free throw line, to the free throw line. And if LA doesn't foul, LA's played great defense so far. If nothing else, the Lakers have played great defense. I could see a first half under if the first half is where they care. Oklahoma City's been a good defensive team so far, so I probably look that direction.
Yeah, and Teddy, to your point, if you look at the game line, 5.5, first half 3, but the total is normally half. It's 218. It's 110 for the first half. So that's kind of what Teddy references, that maybe, they do shut things down in the second half. So the first half is a little bit higher, Rob, than the second half. So you're getting under 110 in the first half in that Lakers game if you like the under. Ski, I saved you for last because the Lakers are your team. They're your number 1 seed. How are you handicapping them going forward, including this game tonight?
Each game is different, but for this one here, I'm not quite sure that they care. We'll see if they care. Rob made a good point that they wanted to get the offense going last game, and they did. I'm not quite sure they have the same motivation here. Without Schroeder, that's a little less pace for OKC. I could see this one staying under the total, maybe a slower game and maybe more defense. So I would lean more towards under, and I wouldn't be laying the points with the Lakers. If I had to pick, I would be getting the points with OKC.
Ski, do you like under 218 for the game, or do you like Rob that likes under 110 first half? Do you have a preference on those two?
I would go with the full game because if the Lakers do anything, I think they would do it early. And Teddy made a point that we don't know about load management. We saw Giannis get taken out and not play in the second half. We could see some of that. So I would go with the whole game.
Yeah, it makes sense because, right now the odds makers are saying 110 first half, 108 second half. So right away, I think there's some thought, even with the odds makers, that the load management, they could start shutting things down. Could be a good game for in-game wagering for that reason as well. We've got a couple guys, Rob and Ski, that are leaning towards the under in the ESPN national TV game at 6:30 Eastern tonight. So watch it live. Maybe be ready to pull the trigger on some in-game, especially if you see some of the guys, as Teddy mentioned, from the Lakers start to rest there in the second half. 2 games left, guys. We've got about 5-10 minutes here, so we'll kind of go rapid fire. Let's look at the 8 o'clock Eastern game between the Raptors and Magic. Toronto right now is 7.5-point favorite. Teddy, the total about 222.5. You got anything on Raptors Magic?
Well, I had a play on Orlando yesterday. That was literally, it's the worst play I'm going to have. It was over by the time I turned the TV on midway through the first quarter. And the Magic never made a run in that. This bubble has been about one team makes a run, the other team makes a run, and that's normal basketball. There was no run yesterday from Orlando at any point in that game. They're down 19-3, and I think the closest they made it was 15 until the very end, where they snuck in a couple of baskets to only lose by 11. Now it's the second of back-to-backs for Orlando. I didn't see the quotes from the Magic saying, that was a bad loss, we're embarrassed, we're going to come out and play. I saw nothing of that nature from Orlando after that game. And Toronto is certainly not a team that I have a whole lot of interest in stepping in front of. So you are getting a guy going against a Magic team that is still cashing overs. 15 straight overs now. But Toronto, anything but an over team. They haven't shot the ball well here in the bubble. Might be a spot for them, perhaps, to find their shooting stroke against a Magic team that might be a step slow.
Yeah, Tony Finn, we talked about it yesterday, Magic in the over, but then again, Toronto, one of the best and not the best defensive teams when they want to be. However, they are kind of locked into that 2 seed for the most part. They're 4.5 games ahead now, and they've already, they're 5 back of the 1. I guess technically, guys, they could still get the 1. I don't think it's going to happen. But Tony, what are your thoughts on Raptors Magic here this evening?
Well, first off, let's just say I think Orlando. It's unfortunate that they lost Jonathan Isaac. We'll just go back that far. Secondly, Teddy's right. Here, Orlando is one of those teams that if you're looking at this team, all of a sudden they have magical offensive powers. It's just not accurate. They're a good defense team. We know that they hang their hat on that, but their offense has been one of the best in the bubble. But yet look at who they faced. Those teams they face are soft defensively. And when it comes to Toronto, right now, they're the best team in the bubble. If you're just going to take their body of work during these games, and they're all in. This team is focused. This team has chemistry, and I think the Lakers are scared.
Lakers are scared.
Maybe not tonight, but they're scared. No, here, Toronto. I'm not going to lay a touchdown, but I sure like Toronto to win this game.
Wow, big run for the Utah Jazz for what it's worth.
What's happening?
Big run for the Jazz.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, good point. Good call. Yeah, they're up by 9. Wow, they've outscored the Grizzlies by 15 in the second quarter. They're now up by 9. So that in game is looking pretty good, Tony. That was a good little call. If anybody picked up on the Jazz in game,
I'm going to go hedge it right now.
There you go. I'll throw it over to Rob so you can go hedge.
I'm going to hedge it. I'm going to hedge it.
Rob Vino, any thoughts on Raptors Magic?
I like what both Teddy and Tony just said. I was going to point out, to Teddy's point of there being no quotes of disappointment for a loss from the Orlando Magic, I think that the disappointing quotes were made toward the Jonathan Isaac injury. You read some of these guys, and sometimes an injury can deflate a team as much as a loss, guys, and they look like a team that was lost yesterday without him. And I don't know if that's going to carry over the rest of the way, but I'm sort of leaning in my thinking toward that Orlando now, as Tony mentioned, they have to step up in defensive quality against Toronto is no joke on the defensive side, front court, back court. There's just no room to score against these guys. And they look like they have their feet in the ground right now. Even if they decide that we're going to shorten some minutes for guys, they're so deep. They can go 9 deep that it really doesn't matter. You could take 9 guys and play them all 26 minutes or less and get the same effort and the same result. So for Orlando, I think it's a difficult matchup for their offense, which has been so good. I think it's a difficult situation from what I'm reading, losing Jonathan Isaac, and Toronto just looks to be a freight train right now. So adding those 3 things up, I'd probably be on the Toronto side, although this line is increased. And I'll say this, they're probably a shade overvalued in this particular price. The number that I have power ratings wise shows them 6.5 on a neutral. They're now 7.5. 27-3, just pick the winner, as Teddy points out, indicates, Rob, throw those numbers in the garbage and just pick the winner. So maybe Toronto's the right side here.
Yeah, and you got to wonder, too, with Milwaukee losing outright as a 19-point favorite yesterday, is Toronto now seeing the ones in their sight? I mean, they're 5 games back. They've got 6 left. Bucks have 5. It's not likely. Plus, as Teddy's pointed out, I'm not sure they care, or does it even matter, because there's no home court advantage. Ski, we'll finish off with you before we hit the last game. What are your thoughts here on Raptors Magic? Raptors right now, 7.5-point favorite across the board, seeing mostly 222.5 as a total.
I don't know what's going on with my connection. I'll try to be quick, but for all the points about the defense with the Raptors, I agree that they defended 3 well, and Orlando probably is not going to have as much offense success. So I like the under in this one. I think Toronto can keep them in check, and Orlando's a pretty good defensive team as well. I think the over streak stops.
Oh, right. Calling for a stop to the over. Hey, it would make a lot of sense if it happens against the Raptors, who right now are playing as good a defense as anybody. One more game to go, guys, before we wrap it up. Once again, promo code WEEK69, WEEK69, WEEK69. Full 7 days, all sports from any and all cappers that you want on sportsmemo.com and wagertalk.com. It's normally $119. So you're saving $50. That's in your pocket right away. 119 goes down to 69 with promo code WEEK69. Best bets from myself, Steve Merrill, Tony Finn, Teddy Covers, Ski Profit, Rob Vino at wagertalk.com and sportsmemo.com. WEEK69. A few minutes left, guys, here, so we'll wrap it up with this game. Teddy, I'll throw it to you first. Boston Celtics minus 8.5. against the Nets, 225. Did the Nets carry that momentum from the big upset yesterday?
No. I don't think so. Again, it wasn't a big upset. It was the biggest point spread upset in the NBA in the last 25 years. Okay. If you read those Nets quotes after the game, they were thrilled. They were as happy as could be. Okay. LeVert gets back in the lineup today. Everyone else on the team exhales. Kemba Walker sitting for Boston today. Everyone on Brooklyn. Celtics coming off a poorly played loss. Brooklyn fat and happy. If I'm playing, I'm laying.
I like it. Tony, what do you think? Bucks have any momentum? I'm sorry, the Nets have any momentum from their big upset of the Bucks?
I'm not a big momentum guy. Listen, if momentum exists in my world, it's basketball, but not so much here. I mean, you don't have it's just not. You don't have a crowd to kind of pump you, juice you, whatever you want to call it. And to the point here, I wish I could support the Nets here. I really wish I could. I wish I could support the Celtics. I wish I could support one of the teams. If there's been an Achilles for the Celtics team, I told you I trust them more yesterday against Miami. It didn't work out. And from what I saw and what I watched, they continue to have problems getting stops. And that's not Brad Stevens' trademark. It's not. This team's not supposed to have problems getting stops. And they're 2-1 because they can't get stops, or they would be better. They'd be 3-0. That's my opinion. I had to pass on this game simply because of what I just described to you, and that is I have no feel for how this game's going to be played out. I really don't.
Yeah, and Rob, I talked about the Sixers biting me the other night. The only other loss or push I've had recently in the NBA. I had a 3-0 restart. I had the big 5% winner on the Blazers last night outright. But another game that bit me was last Sunday. I had the Celtics. It was a push for most people, so it wasn't a loss. But still, they were up by, 19 at the half, over 20 in the early third quarter, and they only won by 4. So I don't have a great feel for Boston right now either. Boston, Brooklyn, Rob Vino, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the feel has to be that they've just not been that impressive so far, guys. You get Miami without Jimmy Butler, and you still shoot as poorly as they did yesterday. The combination of Gordon Hayward, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, they go 2 of 15 from the three-point arc yesterday. Now, I don't think that continues tonight because Brooklyn just wants to outscore people. They play very little. They just don't have the capability to play a lot of defense. And this becomes small on small, to tell you the truth, guys. Isn't it interesting? I talked earlier about how Milwaukee spread out minutes yesterday against Brooklyn, using that game as a breather. How about Brooklyn going load management on Milwaukee and not starting Jared Allen? And Teddy talked about Karis LeVert comes back. He does, but so does Joe Harris, and so does Jared Allen. 3 starters back in the lineup tonight. 3 guys that weren't involved in that game yesterday. So the exhale, happy, it's New Year's Day celebration part of this. These 3 guys want to get back out there, especially LeVert, who scored 51 against the Celtics the last time they met. I think it just gets to be a track meet, guys. I really do. They're 2 small teams, nobody with any dominant big man. I think Boston's shooting woes will get better here. In the game against Portland that you referenced, Steve, when it went 128-124, which is more fundamental style-wise what this game lines up as, Boston shot over 50%, and so did Portland. So I could see both teams putting up points here. When we came on air, I think it was 225.5. I'd be willing to play over that. The Nets got the 228 with the Wizards the other day. And to Tony's point, Boston just hasn't played a heck of a lot of defense here.
And by the way, there's been hardly any movement. It's been 8.5 across the board, start to finish, Celtics favorites. So there's been no movement on this side, but there has been movement on the total. Rob, it was as high as 228 on the opener at some spots, now 225. So if you like the over, Rob Vino's leaning towards the over. For the viewers out there, you're getting about 3 points in line value now. Ski Profi, you're a cleanup hitter here for the final game on the board. Knock it out of the park, my man. What do you have on the side of the total? Any thoughts here for this nightcap between the Celtics and Nets?
I do agree that Boston has not been impressive, and I'm a believer of like recent play. And Brooklyn showing me that they're playing hard, they're playing well, and they're getting 8.5 points. So against a team that hasn't looked impressive, I'll be inclined to take the 8.5 points. And Boston just played yesterday too, so I don't see why not take the plus 8.5.
So Ski is leaning towards the dog, the New Jersey Nets, the Brooklyn Nets. You can see how long I've been doing this, guys. I've got many teams. Tony calls them the New Orleans Jazz still, but we'll get to that on another show at some other point. But yeah, so Ski, you're leaning towards the dog, the Nets plus 8.5. Rob's leaning towards the over 225 in that game. Guys, we went a little bit over as we always do because it's great information. So quickly, 30 seconds, just throw it out there. Any wager, any Saul Buck in-game, in-show bets before we head out for tonight? Okay, start it off, Teddy.
Come on, Teddy.
I've got one. Someone, I don't remember if it was Rob or Tony, said that the Wizards weren't going to win a game.
That was me.
That
was me.
Yeah, I figured Teddy might want
what kind of odds do you need on that?
Even money. Wizards over.
Well, thanks a lot. Thanks.
Yeah, maybe I should become the
I
odds.
appreciate that. This is the math guy too of this group, Teddy. Okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. How much? How many push-ups? How many Starbucks?
New Orleans, OKC, Milwaukee, Boston.
Yeah,
I think they win one of those games.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to say they're going to go 0-8. What would you give me if that happens? What kind of odds would you give me?
He's giving you even money.
Even money. It's generous of him. I'll take it.
Is even good for you, Teddy?
I'll just take it because it's good for the show.
Absolutely.
Then we'll get some comments about what kind of idiot is this fucking Finn? What kind of idiot is he? I'm an idiot. Ask my wife. I'll take it.
And I was going to say, I don't think we've had much disagreement on the head-to-head matchup, so we'll leave it at that for this show, and then we'll have some more tomorrow. We'll have some more in-show betting tomorrow for everybody. So right now,
you get one in, Steve.
Okay. Yeah. If you guys got one, throw it in there. Yeah.
I know somebody wants the other side. Philadelphia.
I do. I'll take it. What?
we doing the line? You taking?
No. Who do you want? You want Philly?
He's taking Philly. How many points?
I'll take. I'll give you the
points this time. I'll give you Philly. I'm gonna take Philly minus 14.
14. Whew.
Really?
He's trying to give you your Sawbucks back.
Well, I'll take 13. Lucky 13. Right. I won't take 14, but I'll take lucky 13.
All right. So you got.
Don't say I never gave you anything.
So once
again,
again,
how many? I owe him. Listen, I owe him four Sawbucks. I want two Sawbucks.
Ski lays a bad number just like he did before when he won easily. So we'll see what happens. Minus.
I may be sick for the show tomorrow.
So, Tony, you realize actually this is good for you because you've got the Wizards don't win, but you also have the Wizards plus 13. So, in the nature of Tony Finn, he's got a hedge going already on the in-show wagering.
That's right. The hedgehog is at it again.
He found a way to hedge. That's a great stopping point, guys, because he's in-show wagering. Hey, we'll be back tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern on Thursday for more NBA tip-off here on WagerTalk TV. As always, Facebook, Periscope, YouTube, live and archived afterwards. 3 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, Thursday, NBA tip-off. Thanks, guys. Great show as always.
How much, Teddy?
Tomorrow.
How many Sawbucks